Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. It's been a long while since the last one, but I have been making progress and we just about have everything crossed off the list that needed to be done, with the exception of one thing, and we'll get to that right at the end of the video. But for now, enjoy what I have been up to. Now I'm going to redo these seat belts with brand new aftermarket kit that meets Australian standards, and that come with front and rear. Now I've got to take the back seat back out again and unbolt everything to get those done. Once we've done the rear, we'll jump in the front, get those in, and be happy days. Things have escalated quite quickly. I've got the first belt out. Now be aware, these won't come out with the back seat in or the parcel shelf, so I've had to take most of that out. I haven't fully taken out the parcel shelf, I've just lifted it up because there's not enough room down here in that slot for the buckle and that top mount clip on the C-pillar to go through. So you've got to move your seat base forward, and if you've got a big thick parcel shelf like me, that's also got to go up so there's enough room for it to drop through into the boot, because they come out through the boot, not inside the car. Now I'll install this one and then I'll do the other side, because I do not want to take this parcel shelf out and remove the speakers and do all of that again. Also remembering that these are handed. I'm doing the left hand side. I didn't check, but I got my 50% right and I've got the left hand one in. And I only noticed that because looking at the old one, I had the left hand there, so I thought I'd better check that. And I don't have that pin that locates it into the spot. I don't know if that's going to be an issue or not, because the new one absolutely does have nothing. Interesting. It's all in, and the only thing left to do is throw that plastic cover away. Is now put that on, and this part of it's done. And I'll go through a few things that I found. Does that go on there and out, clip up like that? I don't know. Seems pretty crappy. Well, that's not a good start, is it? Obviously goes onto that. There we go, that's better. That's better. It's on now. Bolts. This one here is the original. This is the new one. Quite a lot longer. Just looking at the old one, I'll go through what I've noticed. As I mentioned before, the bolts are a lot longer. And what I noticed with trying to just get this bit on, there was an issue. Now the original nuts are 21 mil. They have gone down to 3/4, which does make some of what I'm about to explain a little bit easier, but there's probably a 1/2 inch extra on that bolt than original. And the problem you have is when you put it in here, you can see it's already happening with this one. It hits the belt that's retracted in the roll. So the only way to get it in is you put it in the hole, and you have to thread it with this sticking away so that you're not stuck up into the belt, or you can't, the bolt won't start in the hole and it just wants to cross thread. So you have to start with the bottom piece away and the head of the bolt down in there. And because there's not much room there You can't get in there with a socket. The bolt down here also remains as changes from a 21 to a 3/4. I don't know why they need a couple of different sizes, but they have. Now the next thing is to connect the belt into the bolt here, and I've noticed it doesn't come with this bracket here. It's just an end like this, and the center belt end is just like that. Now I have to work out whether that needs to be spaced apart so that they can maneuver on a different axis separately, or do they lock together, or whatever. I don't know. Let's get the middle belt out and this one and just see how it goes. Just before I pop this in, just so that you're all aware, here's the label saying that it is Australian and New Zealand standards, obviously made in Australia. So old mate can't say you got shit belts in, because it's made to Australian and New Zealand standards, which is obviously 2596. There you go. That's the first part of the center belt in, on top of each other with a plastic washer and a spacer underneath, and just at 180 degrees opposite to each other. So when they come out through the seat, they'll be in their right angles for their dangles. Onto this side. Before you bolt it in, you want to take this yellow thing off so your belt can extend when you need it to. There we have it. All new rear seat belts in and fastened correctly. The center belt is extremely long. I don't like that about it, but there's not much I can do. That's fully adjusted to as small as I can get it. I have sat in the back seat and tried the seat belt on, and they feel really, really good and really smooth operating, so that's good. The next things I will do the front, but that will wait till tomorrow, as I have things to do for the rest of this afternoon. I'll catch you up then. I have installed the passenger front seat belt. I just wanted to install that so I knew how to do it, and I can kind of explain what needs to be done to get it to fit. We're all back together in here. It all moves nicely up here. Now those previous seat belts that I had in didn't really work well up here. It was very tight. This one's got the movement, so when you pull the seat belt this way, it doesn't get caught up in there, so that's good. But there is some slight modifications that need to happen in order to get them to fit how you want them. The first thing that needs to be done is with your buckle. And I don't know why, but these say they're for VB to VL Commodore, but they come with a wiring loom to the buckle. We don't use that, so I've cut that off at the base here, and then I've just wrapped it with electrical tape. I don't want to leave this on here. If the next tester's doing something, he's going to see these wires and say, what are these for? They're not connected, connect them up. But we can't, so they're going. We're getting rid of them. I'm going to cut this wire off around here, just so there's a little bit left out. If I cut it too short, then it'll be too visible. I don't want it to be visible, so I'm going to cut it about here. Just get some of these and cut that sucker off. We'll straighten out that, get rid of that. And with some black electrical tape, I'm just going to tape that to the stalk and hide it forever and ever and ever more. And it will never, ever look like this was done. Stalk modified. After you've changed over your stalk, as with the rear seat belts, we go from 21 mil down to 3/4. We get a little plastic cover to go over the bolts. Now these are pretty tight, so what I've been doing is just getting them set on like that and tap with a plastic mallet and it's on. As with our lap sash, there's only 2 bolts. There's one up here, one down here. And again, this one replaces with the 3/4. But this one here, we have to reuse the old bolt because the new one will not fit. What these reproduction seat belt companies don't seem to realise is on these cars you have a fixed like washer, whatever it is, where the thread is that threads the top bolt in. And no one seems to understand that that is there. Now, the first thing you have to do is the cover for your bolt is you have to enlarge that hole so it will go over this piece. It's just too small. And this is the bolt that comes with the seat belt. It comes with this washer, which you don't need. But if you look at this bolt, it's got a shoulder on it. And once it's threaded in, it will not go any further than this washer bit here. So this bolt is no good. It cannot be used. You have to reuse one of the existing ones. We will be reusing this. And if you look at the top mount of the seat belt, it comes with a plastic spacer in there, which is adjustable. So that will fit over that nut, but only just. And you've got to kind of put it in a way where it doesn't poke out. So the top bit there is not connected, so it can stretch to whatever size. So that needs to be done with the cover behind it and the old bolt. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Just looking down at the ground here, it comes with this angle bracket, which is very similar to the factory one. Let's smash this together and say we're done with seat belts. And just remember, these are also handed, so get your left and your right sorted before you start throwing them on the wrong side. That's in and tightened. You want it to be able to do that. If it's fixed and won't move, you'll have trouble getting your seat belt on and it'll crinkle up because that won't move. So you want this to move like that. And then we can just clip our plastic together and it's done. I'm going to put this back together and we'll test it out. Just one other thing. This retractor bit fits a lot better than that European one in here. If you're running power windows and central locking like me, just make sure to clearance your wires that they don't get trapped behind this and you should be good to go. Okay, let's give it a try. Oh, I'm liking it already. That is bloody magnificent. That last one was a piece of junk. It didn't move too well on the B pillar because it didn't rotate very well there. But this one makes putting your seatbelt on worth it. Let's put it on again and test it again. And test it out for a second time. Yes, yes, that's how you want a seatbelt to feel. Oh, just to feel the open road in this again. Oh, let's just dream. Nice, I like it, I like it. The next item I'm going to address is the charcoal canister. Now I've taken this one out of the car because that's what I had running in it. I've found the VK bracket which fits the larger canister, which I don't have room for, so I need to adapt this bracket to fit this canister, because old mate said my homemade bracket was no good, so that can go in the bin. So I've got to work out how to adapt this to this, fit it in the car where there's absolutely no room, because there's definitely no room for that big boy there. And big boy there has less plugs. It's only got room for 2 pipes. I need 3. So I have to use the VR one, not the VK one. Let's put our thinking caps on and see what I can come up with. This was the one I originally had in the car. And as you can see by the top, it has been glued together because it's been broken at some stage. Now, I have to move it and get the right bracket for it, and I'm assuming that's going to get picked up, so no go for that one. I've been to the wreckers, and a lovely VN wagon has donated its charcoal canister to me, and it turns out they're the same part numbers, so that's good. But while I was also there, I ripped this off the car, which is the bracket that holds it. This is welded to the radiator support panel. Obviously I didn't have anything to cut it off, so I just bent it backwards and forwards until it sheared off. And we're going to somehow make this fit onto my radiator support panel and put it in the factory location for a VN to well, at least to a VT, because they were all in the same position. And this just is a really easy setup. It just goes under there, slides in, hooks on the bottom, and that's how it sits in the car. That's on the radiator support. Bada boom, bada bing. That factory location for the canister is right there underneath the top radiator hose, welded to that. It will fit, but how well will it fit? Okay, that's about where I want it to sit. It's vice grip on. Yeah, I've got a couple of options on how I'm going to fix it. I can drill a couple of holes in there and then bolt it on. Whether I can get a drill in there is another thing. Or I can weld it on. Just weld the bracket on, plug weld it on in a couple of spots, drill a couple of holes, put a couple of plug welds in. That's probably the easiest option and probably the safest option. Some decisions have been made. Battery out, headlight out. So then if I'm drilling holes, I'm going to drill through there. I'll probably drill into the radiator, knowing my luck. But that's pretty much about where it is from factory. The only thing is your hoses and stuff come out here. I did grab the vacuum lines or whatever they are from the VN, so I do have new ones of those because I did cut these ones for the new location that was no good. The only thing I'll have to do is the breather for the fuel tank will just have to be extended to go down and reach the pipe, but other than that, that should be that. And we'll get a nice coat of blue paint on that bracket. Well, that wasn't too bad. The second hole is in that little indentation there, which was really hard to get started, but it's on. Let's just fit it up and get cracking. The bracket is painted, 18 hours later. The paint is still soft, so I need to be very careful with that. But the issue I'm going to have is trying to get it all together. Now I can bolt the bracket to the radiator support and then try and fit the canister, but then the top radiator hose is going to get in the way and I won't be able to slide it down on top. So I think it's going to have to be fitted to the canister and then screwed on all as one unit, and that is going to be very difficult then to get the screws behind the back, because there's just no access, because we have the radiator lug supports, and then the thingamabob is going to be right in front of where you want to access the screws. Now, I don't know which way I'm going to go yet, whether I put a bit of tape on the back of the screws and tape it to the back and then hope that I can screw the screw into the nut, but we'll see how we go, hey? Now, there's a big fat chance of 0 of me getting this on with the radiator hose on, but let's just see how we go. And that, my friends, is how you waste many hours on relocating a charcoal canister that there was nothing wrong with in the first place. It's in a factory location now, and if you're not happy with it, I'll pull the thing off and we won't run any emissions. How do you like that? All back together again with our new canister in the correct place. On to the next thing. Next item on the list is, if you can see up there in here, I've got the fuel in and fuel return just touching up there. He is not happy with that, so I need to separate those. The easiest way to do this is just get a rubber coat and put one on each pipe so they don't rub. The hard option is shortening those pipes and getting them to the correct length. I don't know if I want to go that far. I'll unpack them from here and have a look at what we can do. So that one wasn't too bad to fix. No trickery involved or packing out with rubber. All I did was just unpack that one line from this group of clamps here, and it separated it. What I am going to do as well, I've ordered some spark plug lead holders, and I'm just going to put a double one in there to keep that separated, and I'll put another one in down here just to keep them separated and not moving, as this one's it's fairly solid. It's not going to go anywhere, but it's just not in that clamp there, and that should keep it solid. Another thing off the list, me spark plug separators have come in, and as you can see, I've popped one there, and I've popped one there, and then I've put a 3-piece one up there with a gap in the middle to keep those ones separated, and they should not now cross over each other and rub. Another item on the list is we're leaking here at the plug for the speedo drive, and let's clean that up and tighten that bolt and see if that does the job, or it's time for a new seal if that doesn't work, because the amount of loose bolts I've found in this car is ridiculous. So it could be as simple as that. Next thing I am going to tackle is the handbrake. Now, I've never done a handbrake before, so I'm going to take the caliper off and the rotor off, and then I'll see how it's connected from the back through the backing plate. I am predicting that this rotor is going to be stuck, and then once I get it off, I predict that the handbrake shoes are going to be absolutely trash and need to be replaced. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Well, I was wrong about the rotor coming off. That came off real easy. I should have prepared myself for when the caliper came off, so it's not dangling by the hose. So that's supported by some bricks. The handbrake shoes, I don't know what the thickness is meant to be, but they don't look too bad. They're very, very dirty, but it doesn't look too bad. It needs a good clean, and I reckon they might be all right. You definitely don't need to take the rotor off. It's all done from behind. How interesting. I've got that spring off, but do you think I can get the cable off the lever? No. If it's this hard to get off now, imagine how hard it's going to be to get on with the new cable. I'm not looking forward to that. But I can't get this off at the moment. Need to put my thinking cap back on. I've decided while I'm here, I'm going to replace a few things. This rotor here is pretty much shot. There's a big lip on the outside and the inside. I know that didn't get picked up on the last roadworthy, but pretty good chance it's going to get picked up on the next one. $100 gets you 2 rotors and a set of pads. So I've ordered those, but now I've still got to try and get that darn handbrake cable off that lever. Oh my word, what an effort. In order to get that cable off, I had to unbolt this from the backing plate, and it still didn't want to come off. Screwdrivers and lots of wiggling later, I managed to get it off. Just comparing the pair, old to new, look how small the old slot for the lever is compared to the new one. It's, 1.5 times the size. So I'm hoping that goes on a hell of a lot easier than that one wanted to come off. I've started rerouting this side of the cable. I have gone on top of the lower control arm, so it comes out through there. As mentioned by previous people in previous video, that can stay there. I'm thinking I might as well give that a quick coat of paint before I put that back on and connect it back up. Then I can do the other side and get the handbrake cable fully ready to go by the time the brakes come. I've given the backing plate and the handbrake mechanism a clean, and it's come up all right. Those shoes look like they're in pretty good condition. There's no issue with those. There's still plenty of meat on them. Plus, I've painted up that bracket. Let's put it back on and see if we can get that lever or that slotted bit to locate on the lever. I'm just threading through the cable underneath the car and just removing the old one, and I've gotten to this. This is the bit that connects onto the underside of the handbrake. How do you get that off? It's crimped on both edges. How does the cable come out? Do you just pry it apart, then squish it back together on the new one? I don't know, because it won't thread over any of this stuff or plastic cabling. It can only slide in between this cable section here. How do you get it off? There's no holes or anything that I see on it other than where the nut goes through. That's my next conundrum. Well, I got that off. What I ended up doing was I just got a screwdriver in there, put my foot on it and levered it open, just enough to be able to get that cable out. You need to remember to not lose that. I'm going to climb under the car now, put that on, put that in, and I'll just get some pliers or something and squish these two ends back together. And I hope that that's all it needs. Back under the car with this thing crimped back on. That didn't go too bad at all. I did try with a pair of hand pliers and it was almost impossible. No strength to do it, so I got a bigger pair of vice grips and it closed up straight away. I did give it a good clean, so it's nice and without grime. I have also just gone along and popped it in that little seat there. Now I just need to go over to that corner there and repeat the same process. And we should have a brand new handbrake cable on the car. Then it'll just be some adjusting to get it right. Postman Pat has been today and left me a package, and it's my new rotors and pads. I'll suss these out, make sure they're right, and installation can begin. New rear rotors and pads are on. Just looking at the old pads, they're not too bad. They're probably halfway through their life, so it's good to replace them. So this is the passenger side and here is the driver's side. All buttoned back up. The only thing left to do now is adjust that handbrake cable and we're done here. The next thing to do is start ripping into this front suspension again and getting those dodgy lower control arms off and fixing up the spring there. Let's rib into it. This is where I'm now up to. The whole front suspension on the passenger side is out, and here is that brand new control arm with the destroyed bush from 50 k's of driving, so that's no good. And over here I have the front strut with rotor still attached, so I can compress this spring and get this little bit of rubber that's poking its tongue out at me back in its home, and then it can all go back in. I'm going to compress this spring, do that, fit that properly, we'll get that back in. After a bit of a fight, the spring and the seat is now sorted. It was sticking out around here somewhere before. It is now fully seated in. It did put up a fight. I got that in, and when I was letting out the spring compressors, this decided that it didn't want to go in the seat, so we had to wind the spring back up and do it all again. And as you're probably aware, this unit with a rotor on is pretty darn heavy. But why take it off if you don't need to, eh? Let's get it hanging back in the car and get that new arm on. But let's unbox it first, and hopefully it's better than the other one. First glance, they both look the same, except the newer one has a part number. The bush looks to be very similar. It's ready to go on. At least we've got another new ball joint, even though there's nothing wrong with that one. This rubber seemed to have held up all right. Let's start the reassembly. Oh boy. Hot tip, trying to put this back in with a rotor, it's heavy. Don't do it without a jack. The jack is your friend. And before Captain Sawback hurt his back again, I thought let's jack it up and get it in. And you can jack it up, line it up till you get your holes for your bolts right, loosely put them in. So it's dangling there, and it's much easier. That's probably the hardest bit done. And we've now got our spring seated nicely and should be all good for this side. I'm pretty sure the other side doesn't have this issue. So it's just changing out the lower control arm, not taking the whole strut out, but we'll have a look when we get in there. But we've got to put this side together first. So that's what I'm about to do. Jeepers. Took me about an hour to get that bolt in that lets the arm swing up and down. I just could not get it to line up, and it was fighting me. But I eventually got it in. A lot harder than the other ones. Now I'm wondering, is that hole slightly bigger on this old one compared to what I've just put in? Because I did not have nowhere near as much trouble getting that bolt in last time. I remember just tapping it with a hammer and it went straight through and lined up. This one would not go in whatsoever. But everything's in, loosely bolted. I'll start to tighten things up, and then when we get it onto the ground again, we'll nip everything up correctly, and we'll be laughing all the way down the road when we go for a drive. That is now the driver's side wrapped up. It's a bit dark, I haven't got the torch, I'm charging it again. The new control arm is in, and I'll show you the one that I took out. If you look at this bush here, this was on its way out too. It's all split here. Pretty much the same areas as the other side, although this side hadn't actually broken off, but well on the same path. This side gave me nowhere near as much trouble as the passenger side. The bolt for the top of the arm I was actually able to push through with my hand, unlike the other side that was really tight. The only real drama I had was with the ball joint. When I was trying to tighten it up, it was just spinning and I couldn't tighten the nut up. So I just put the jack underneath the arm, which got some weight on it, and I was able to do the nut up that way. But other than that, it went very smoothly. It took maybe just over an hour from go to woe on this side, so that's not too bad. Now that I've done pretty much everything, before I put the car back down on the ground, I want to have another look at this exhaust. I want to make a bit more clearance. I know it's going to give me dramas if I go back like this. So while it's still up in the air, I'm just going to pull it off. Maybe we just do a little bit of clearance work just to make a bit more room so it's not as noticeable, and we'll whack it back on, and then I can finally get the car back down on the ground for the first time in a couple of months. Here we have the driver's side part of the Y pipe, and I've just been doing some clearancing around where the steering rack is. So I've just heated that up and given it a few whacks. There was already a spot that was already indented in where this was, so I've just made it a bit bigger, which hopefully gives me enough clearance around the steering rack now that it shouldn't be an issue of hitting or anything like that. And I've also done a little bit of work on the other side of the Y pipe. That piece there is just hitting the transmission cross member and just taking a bit off the flange there because that's hitting some of the frame. Let that cool down and test fit it on, and hopefully we've got enough clearance now. Welcome back to the underneath of the car once again. I'm going to get under there and show you some of the clearances I've got with just a little bit of dilly-dallying around with the exhaust pipe. Starting with the cat there, previously this flange was hitting the floor and so was the bottom of the cat there, and I've got 6 to 8 mil of clearance there. But the big one is at the steering column. I can just slide myself under here. Whereas I had, 1 to 2 mil before. Now I'm stuck. I can't move. it's gonna have to stay there. There we go. Don't worry about this pipe, that's just an air pipe. That gap there is now 7 to 8 mil. So I've gained, 6, 7 mil on what I had previously. Also, reclocked this bracket here, which made a big difference as well, which helped in getting this part of the exhaust lower as well. Before I mentioned that I've clearanced that part of the exhaust. That is now 15 mil away from that trans cross bracket. Oh, sorry, it's there. There, where that was actually hitting before, I've got probably 12 mil of clearance now, where I had 0 before it was actually hitting. So the work that I've done on massaging these pipes has worked really well, and I believe the reclocking of that clamp there and just slightly putting on a different angle before tightening it up has made the difference, so we don't hit. The only thing I need to do is I've got Mr. Cat here. I just need to double up the gaskets in between. One end I can get to close up, not too bad, but one end, the back end here, the bolts are really tight and I don't want to break something. So if I double up the gasket there, it's going to be hunky-dory just right. So I'll get a couple of gaskets, done that, and then I am done. Well, friends, everything's done. The time has come to cross the last things off the list, then get the wheels back on and get it back down on the ground for the first time in 51 days. Back over at the list, let's cross off those last items. Seatbelt confirmation of compliance is done because I have replaced them with Australian certified belts. Front springs not located properly. That is now done. Left hand front caster bush broken. That has been replaced. Done. Pollution canister bracket no good. Done and in factory-ish location. Right hand exhaust hit steering rack causing vibrations. I have just rectified that one. Done. Fuel pipes at steering shaft chafing and too close. Done. Locate handbrake cables at rear. Well, there's a new cable in and they're located correctly. Done. Speedo drive oil leak. This one, I've tightened the nut. Doesn't seem to be anything coming out. I'm going to cross it off, but I'm going to keep an eye on it just in case. Now, there's one thing left on this list, which is engineer's report. Obviously, I can't get that done because the car has been up in the air for 51 days. And that's not high on my to-do list right at this moment. I am going to take the car to a different roadworthy place. And I think I'm just going to skip over that for the moment and we'll see what this new place says. If they say I need one, then I'll go and get one. But let's just see if I can sneak it through without, because remembering these cars did come out factory 5 litre and also factory 4.9. So it technically should not need an engineer certificate because of those facts. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Sometimes I get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I'm like, I might grab a bat, I don't know. My wrath, my blood boils over like Oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show. So have you ever felt betrayed? Switches how you see things, realize something needs change. Cause I know you got me fucked up, let me show you what's up. Cause enough is enough. I'll take a face full of pavement just to make a statement. I know there's no turning back. Oh God, adrenaline wasted, so mad I can taste it. I know there's no turning back. I'll do what it takes, I ain't making mistakes like that. I'll play it on your face just to make you go take it back. I'll lose my shit, I go crazy when I'm mad. And now you go wish you would shut the fuck up real bad.
Back on all four wheels and back on the ground. Yippee. There we have it. The list has been completed, bar the engineering certificate, because that's not something that I can do myself. That needs to either go in or skipped over, hopefully the second option. This was not an easy task to complete all these items, especially the last 8 off the list. In fact, I had to add an extra one on there, which I didn't film, didn't go into any detail through. When in the last, I think it was the last video I did the booster, the driver's side rear, I had the bleed screw, it wouldn't undo. So I ended up bleeding the caliper through the hose. Now, I was a bit iffy on whether that worked or not, so I decided I'll give the bleed screw another crack, and I snapped it. Snapped it clean in half. Why it seized in there, I've got no idea, when 12 months ago there was nothing wrong with it and it opened and closed like a dunny door. But it seized in there, and I tried drilling out the remainder of the bleed screw, but was paranoid that I was going to damage the seat inside the caliper. So I had a look through my stash and could find every caliper under the sun except for a right hand rear, left hand, front, everywhere, but no right hand rear. So I had to go to the wreckers and found the dirtiest piece of junk that was there. So I had to rebuild that once I got home. The piston boot was all split. So that was a full rebuild on that caliper and clean up, and it's now sitting on the car. Just for anyone out of interest, that is off a VS. The body is the same, the bracket is different, but the body is the same, dimensions everywhere. The only difference is the original said Gerlock, this one's a PBR. So I've got one PBR caliper on there, but who gives a fat rat's freckle? Anyways, now, what is the plan of attack? Well, the weather is absolute terrible of late. When I get a nice day, it's back out for test drives, just to make sure we're all good. Then once I'm happy with that, I'll book it into this other place that's near me, and hopefully I get a better result from them. I have no doubt they will pick something. I don't know what it will be, but there will be something. So I'm not expecting it to go in and pass with flying colours, but we'll just see how we go. That will all be in an upcoming video. But until then, I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Ciao, ciao.